So obviously I'm not in the same place that I usually am in, and that's because finals are happening. My roommate's got the room to herself right now, so I thought I'd just crank out this video, not in our room, so that she can do what she has to do, and I can do what I have to do, and we're all happy, right? So, with that disclaimer out of the way, on with the video.
Just for some context, popular YouTuber DeFranco released a video on Friday entitled Dear Black People, which is not intentionally inflammatory at all.
Hey, nothing is intentionally inflammatory, technically. It isn't a choice to be inflamed, right? It's the same concept with offense is not given, rather it is taken. You could just ignore it, not address it at all, but you had to counter an opinion with another opinion. When has that ever worked? Also, you need to work on your sarcasm delivery. That was not convincing at all.
In one of the news segments in this video, he responds to an article in the Metro UK written by author Miranda Larby. I'm gonna have a link to her article below if you want to check it out in its entirety, but the main thrust of her argument is that reverse racism isn't really a thing.
And on that we agree, because being racist towards white people is just racism. Pure and simple, nothing reverse about it. Are we done? Is that it?
Her article begins by addressing
Oh, no, there's more.
a recent poll published in the New York Times that found that over half of white people in America believe that they're being discriminated against because of their race.
You don't sound like you believe these people's own personal lived experience there, Marina. Is it because they're white?
She goes on to say, to recap, this is a country where slavery was around for 245 years.
Correction, slavery still exists in today's society across the world. In fact, I think the current numbers are that there are more slaves today than there ever were during American history. Because of the illegal nature of contemporary slavery, the estimates are ranged from estimates of like 12.3 million who are trapped into forced labor to 46 million. Yeah. And if we're going by numbers provided by the Atlantic Slave Trade Database in the US between the years 1601 and 1900, so 300 plus years or so, the number of people who embarked for America to be enslaved were about 305,326. The number who disembarked, though, were significantly lower than that due to the, propensity to die on the journey at 252,652. Granted, I don't believe the second one takes into account people who were born into slavery in the US when, taking into account number of slaves within the US at the time. So those numbers are definitely probably skewed. So, of course, we also have to remember that populations are rather dynamic in nature, right? Of course. So, for the sake of being liberal with our statistics, let's use the current popular estimate of 4 million in the US versus, and let's be fair and use the most liberal estimate for worldwide slavery at 46 million. For contemporary slavery, that is. I'm not trying to appear like I'm discounting people who have been long dead's lived experiences 200 years ago. I'm just pointing out that we have much larger fish to fry currently. Why is this relevant? Well, because I enjoy being a smarmy little prick. It's what I'm good at. But please, do carry on, Marina.
Followed by over 100 years of official and unofficial segregation.
Until 1964, 2 generations ago. That's when segregation was made illegal. Now, am I deluded enough to think that everyone was peachy keen after that? Everything just went everything just went, good? There have been violent, devastating revolutions that countries have rebounded back from in less amount of time, Marina. Let's be real.
25% of those killed by police are black, despite Afro-Americans only making up 13% of the population.
I guess that the author of this article, who you're reading to me, because apparently the rest of the public and your audience can't read for shit, forgot to mention that entire quote, which is that whites were 50% of those victims and blacks were 26%. By comparison, whites are 62% of the US population and blacks 13%. But that's racist! And we'll get to the whole population comment in a bit. Give me a hot second. I'm building the tension. It's getting very steamy in here.
34% of the prison population is black.
guess what? They also committed 49.4% of the murders, which is about even with white murder statistics, and 54.9% of robberies, which is roughly 10 points above white robbery, which, if we're going to make the only 13% argument, then, then those stats don't necessarily play in your favor. If you want to make the case that the numbers in jail are overinflated for the population, then we also have to look at what causes people to go to jail. And that's usually illegal acts. Breaking the law.
45.8% of young black children live in poverty.
Where did you get that number from? For shits and giggles, let's look at extreme poverty too. Would you look at what I found? The median income of Hispanic female householders and Hispanic married couple families are the lowest compared to other races. I think we have a newfound victimized demographic, people. And then there's one thing I really wanted to show you because I found it just so interesting. Do you see the difference between the black data graph and the gray data graph? The black one is higher and is the median income of married couple families with children. The gray one is significantly lower and is median income of female householders, husband, absent family with children. What does that tell you, Marina?
Late at night, I toss and I turn and I dream of what I need. Hit it!
Manly man, I'm manlier than the woman. The most I can dream for entire night and still be ready to fight. Alright, I'm not afraid of hard work. I can eat steak with just one fork. You wanna to go shopping? I prefer to fight an orc.
That without a man in the household, there is a trend for poverty. Yes, that's right. I'm advocating for the patriarchy.
The patriarchy?
But only because I actually think of the children.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
So, what have we learned today, Marina? That there is evidence that supports the benefits of patriarchy to combat poverty? And they say masculinity is toxic.
1,064 racially motivated incidents were reported in the first months after Trump was elected.
How many of those reported incidents were either fake or against white people? Should I look that up? Nah. This is supposed to be one of those quick videos that I do. I am studying. You know what? Fuck it. I need to be right. So I found the 1064 number. It's from the SPLC. And here's a nice little tidbit of quote from that article. They said that overall anti-immigration incidents, 315, remain the most reported, followed by anti-black, 221, anti-Muslim, 112, and anti-LGBT, 109. Anti-Trump incidents were numbered at 26, 6 of which were also anti-white in nature, with 2 non-Trump related anti-white incidents reported. We've also been tracking false reports, 13 in total, as a handful of high-profile incidents have been recently uncovered, including 2 that we had previously counted and have removed from this update. So here we have the incidences by race, ethnicity, and ancestry bias, because I think you and the lady you're quoting from are trying to make the case that this is a racial thing, that for some reason doesn't make sense because the most race issues were for immigrants, not necessarily a racial issue because immigrants can come from any nation with any popular skin color or what have you. But I think you're trying to make this a race thing, and let's look at the hate crime statistics for 2016, but also 2015 and 2014, because I am a big fan of comparison. Yes, I am. So, 2016. Notice victims in this category total at 4,426. That's important, keep it in mind. And 50.2% were victims of crimes motivated by their offenders' anti-black or African American bias. 20.5% were victims of anti-white bias. Again, that's very important. Then there's 2015's numbers for the same thing. 4,029 in total, and that's about 400 less than 2016. So obviously the numbers have been going up. But get a load of this. This year, the anti-black motivation of hate crimes was at 52.7, which is 2 percentage points higher. And anti-white bias motivated crimes were at 18.2%. So again, a little bit less. So far, from 2015 to 2016, black racially motivated hate crimes went down, while white racially motivated crimes went up. Let's get to 2014 then. Hate crimes were at a rather low compared to the first 2 years of 3,081 overall. again, so apparently in the last 2 years we've increased in terms of hate crimes. However, 63.5% were anti-black racially motivated, and 22.8% were anti-white racially motivated. You know what? I'll put these in a graph. As you can see, over the last 3 years or so, while there have been an overall net increase in hate crimes across various races, percentage-wise, there has been a decrease in the amount of hate crimes against black people. So if your argument were that race relations amongst the races in the US were gradually getting, shittier, I would agree with you. However, that's not what you're trying to say, is it, Marina, and author of this article that I can't be bothered to learn the name of? In not so subtle terms, you're trying to say that racism against black people and not white people has increased, and that is simply not the case. Can't wait to see what this year's data table looks like. So in essence, that bit of research took me a lot longer than I anticipated. Damn you, tables and statistics and data. I cannot resist your sweet, sweet cold. We haven't even gotten to debunking Marina's points yet, just the person she's mooching all of her statistics from. Which reminds me, Marina, honey, food for thought, don't take all your eggs out of one basket. I mean, I only have 11 sources, I think, right now, so far, and we're barely a minute into your video. Yeah, now that I say it out loud, that sounds kind of pathetic, doesn't it? Yeah, my greatest flaw is my inherent need to prove everyone wrong all of the time. I should probably see someone about that. Anyway, moving on.
Larby goes on to break down the myth held by many white folks that affirmative action is racist against white people.
It's not just white people, but Asians as well. Take it away, me from the past. Getting into college, applying for college is like one giant popularity contest, and if James the quarterback has bigger boobs than you, then you might as well wear a bag over your face for all of the notice that you will get. My saltiness aside, I really look forward to the author's statistical data that proves the legacy preference is 100% irrefutably an advantage that white people have. Because I would really like to know something that I already don't know. And if they don't have the data, then that means that I am the only one who brought data to the table. And I'm just going to go ahead and lay it on ya. According to the Princeton study, the bonus for African American applicants is roughly equivalent to an extra 230 SAT points on a 1,600 point scale to 185 points for Hispanics, 200 points for athletes, and 160 points for children of alumni. The Asian disadvantage is comparable to a loss of 50 SAT points. I'm glad that I bring this up. Yes, I am. I'm very glad that I bring this up. Does that count as a war flashback? I feel like I'm having deja vu.
Which I made a video about a while back where I explain why this isn't true if you want to check it out. She provides statistics and sources.
She provides sources! Oh, two. One of which is another article. The other, an interactive map of police shootings. Marina, honey, no. By comparison, she makes me look like a professional Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. And I am a psychology and computer science major. I can't even fucking spell journalist right. It's right here on the script. I'll show you a picture. There you go.
To back up the reality that black people are systematically discriminated against and underrepresented in high-paying fields. But DeFranco's main beef seems to be the way that she's arguing. He starts out by calling Larby a hypocrite and then literally references the dictionary definition of discrimination.
Guys, this is gonna be hilarious. Just watch.
Which just feels like every argument I've ever received about racism from anonymous Twitter eggs. In school, when you're learning how to write essays, the first thing they teach you is not to begin your argument with the dictionary definition from Merriam-Webster.
So, when arguing a point, apparently, it's not important that you and the intellectual opponent you are arguing with start off on the same basis of understanding of the points that you're arguing. That's what I'm getting from this, Marina. That you're not supposed to define the terms you're arguing about before the debate begins? Like, isn't that how you begin to start arguing past your opponents? Because you end up not actually arguing the same thing or with the same understanding. In my experience, in any debate I've engaged in any paper that I've ever written, in conversations that I've had, if the person does not understand what concept it is that I'm referencing, and where it is I'm coming from, the audience tends to get pretty lost. Marina. This is like paper writing 101. This is debate 101. This is Okay. You know what? Fine.
Phil criticizes the line from Larby's piece that reads, "We've had over 300 years of white people telling us how superior they are," as generalizing all white people.
Doesn't it, though?
White supremacy is just like kind of a thing that has existed throughout history, so
are all of your arguments going to come from other people's non-sourced articles and sarcastic brush-offs? Just curious. You know, and I'm not even gonna bother getting super analytical data mining obsessive Weebo on you for that one. You and I both know that white supremacy is more fucking taboo than pedophilia at this point in this country, for some fucking reason. Compare the backlash from It's Okay to Be White to Corey Feldman's trying to get you to care about Hollywood pedos for the last however fucking many years it's been. To migrants in Europe molesting young children and getting off scot-free and no one giving a shit about it. Don't be so disingenuous, Marina.
I don't see what the problem with pointing that out is. He states, "Making a blanket statement about all white people is not going to help a conversation."
I don't see where the problem is, Marina. Can you please explain to me, in idiot terms, where you're coming from? I am but a lowly Polak woman. I cannot possibly understand.
I'll take hashtag not all white people for 500 points. Since the allegations against Harvey Weinstein have come to light, there's been a lot of discussion surrounding hashtag not all men and yes all women.
Hashtag not this woman, so you can suck it. Oh wait, no, that's sexual assault. Fuck me. I mean, that's also sexual assault. God diddly.
Which of course was the hashtag created by women in response to that. You might be thinking, what does this have to do with Phil DeFranco's video?
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Also, the fuck is this?
Well, I think there's actually a great deal of overlap.
That's right. Intersectionality, bitches. You're getting feminism in this talk about race, because why the fuck not? You know, hit all of the buzzword topics while you're at it.
When women were bravely sharing their stories of being harassed, assaulted, or raped by men, a lot of men came into these conversations saying, not all men. Women were describing a larger societal pattern and culture that lets powerful men get away with these behaviors.
And of course, we're not even going to talk about how most studies about sexual assault don't even have a fucking category for made to penetrate. And how the ones that might don't even count that as rape. Again, I've touched on this in a video. See my hashtag everything is sexist video, so we live in a patriarchy, I think it's called.
And instead of listening and hearing these women out and saying, you know what, you're right, that's terrible. What can I do to help?
That's right. Fall in line and grovel. Worship the vagina.
A lot of men chose to take offense to this and make it about their own feelings.
Men? With feelings? We cannot have that bullshit. Down with the patriarchy. Down with the toxic masculinity.
Similarly, I'd argue, fine. Sure, hashtag not all white people tell black people explicitly that they're inferior. And no, not every white person fits into the stereotype of a white supremacist KKK member that apparently is the only circumstance where you can accuse someone of being a racist.
So, then there is, in fact, no problem with Philly D saying, hey dude, don't fucking make blanket statements about people. That's not cool. Fuck off.
But you're kind of missing the fucking point.
Please, enlighten me, a woman with all of the answers, sources, and feminist cred that I don't have to back them up. Please and thank you.
Instead of making it about not all men or not all white people, we should recenter our conversations to focus on marginalized people because yes, all women, and yes, all people of color.
But Marina, you've just taken the blanket from one group, and you've put it on an entirely different group. Neither one is preferable. You can't just generalize like that for the people that, you know, are minorities. It's not cool when you do it with other people, with anyone. Because you don't speak for every black person, just like you don't speak for every woman, Marina.
Not every single white person needs to explicitly say, I hate black people, for black people's experiences with systemic discrimination to matter. Not every single man needs to be a sexual predator for assault victim stories to matter. What I think is important when discussing systemic racism, in which white people are not systematically discriminated against based on race.
If the answer is anything other than provide actual quantifiable data of an isolated legitimate problem in society that keeps marginalized groups down, and then a subsequent solution to that problem, then you can fuck off.
Is to prioritize the real victims of racism, which, like, are not white people.
Like, are you sure? Are you absolutely sure? Because, like, 50% of white people would disagree, Marina. Just saying. Am I doing this right? Was that pretentious and dismissive enough?
When a black woman discusses her experiences with racism and the experiences of black people as a social group, that they are told either explicitly or implicitly by individuals and society that they matter less than white people, your first response should not be to prioritize the feelings of white people.
So when a white male discusses his experience with racism and the experiences of white people as a social group, that they are told either explicitly or implicitly by society that they matter less than everyone else, your first response shouldn't be to dismiss those feelings that they have, Marina. Do you see why you can't say shit like that? Because if you truly believe in the concept of equality, like I think you do, and that everyone should be treated as equals, then you had better fucking believe that you cannot go around arguing that people's feelings matter less because they happen to be a certain skin color or gender, since we're being intersectional.
But based on Philip DeFranco's response to this article, it appears that he's more concerned with reverse racism than actual racism.
Oh. Let's get back to this. I would make a shitty trap if I didn't care about my appearance.
You have an article talking about slavery, police brutality against black people, racialized poverty, and the prison industrial complex, but your main concern out of all of this is that a black writer with 1,000 followers on Twitter wrote an article criticizing reverse racism?
No. That she made a fucking generalization and she was completely fucking missing the point, which is that some white people, about 55%, have actually experienced discrimination, or felt that they have experienced discrimination. Do you see the point here?
Phil DeFranco ends the video saying, "That's my opinion and I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this?" Alright, here are my thoughts on this.
That's so cute. You think that Philly D doesn't deserve to talk about this topic whatsoever because he's a fucking white male!
Oh wait, it appears that you did not want my thoughts on this.
That's not at all what I got from that.
I like that he made sure to tag my employer as, like, a thinly veiled threat against my job security.
Your job security has nothing to do with Philip DeFranco. Everyone knows that you have the least amount of job security working for that publication. Let's be real.
Or something, because I'm really stepping out of line here for criticizing his fucking video. The weirdest part of all of this, though, I think, is that Hank Green chimed in with a vague, but not really vague, subtweet, so that's cool. The debate about how larger channels can diminish the harassment or dogpiling that they send to smaller creators is a whole other argument, and one that I've talked about extensively.
You called him out on Twitter, a public place. Apologies if you got harassment from it, but let's be real here. You started the fucking shit. If you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen. Oh fuck, I'm sorry, that was sexist, wasn't it? My bad. I mean, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Alright, I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm sure you've heard about the shit going down with Patreon, and I'd just like to say to my patrons that I totally understand if if this shenanigans means that you have to back out of financially supporting me. Totally understandable. Do whatever you gotta do. I totally get it. No worries. That being said, I am looking into alternatives, so that you don't have to worry about that, and I have gotten myself a maker support account, so that I've linked it in the description with all of my other links. Such as the Amazon wish list, because I know someone was asking me about that, and the Teespring. So if you like my content, please consider supporting me on any of those links if you feel like it. If not, you can also like, share, subscribe, and comment on this video. Yes, you can. I'm gonna get out of here before someone, shows up and calls me a bigot. Bye, kids.